I've had several amazing trips to Disneyland, but I did have a couple problems a couple of times there, and one of which was my own making. I've had a lot of fantastic trips to Disneyland. I think I can honestly say I have not actually had a bad trip to Disneyland. All the way back from the very beginning up to the most recent ones. Disneyland is an amazing park. But I have had a couple of issues with a couple of the roller coasters. One of which I created, and one of which was really kind of a scary thing. The one that I created actually happened on my grad night. 1988, we were traveling from Sacramento all the way down to Disneyland for grad night. At the time, you had to dress up. So yes, we got to wear suits. As you can see, my friends here and I, not a great picture, but hey, we had cheap cameras and film back then. Now, my friends that you see in the picture, they're the ones that I hung around with. This is Richard and Bill. Bill, later on, actually went into pro wrestling. Bill was kind of a big dude, strong dude. He was not somebody you generally mess with, although we had a great time together. And as we're going around Disneyland, Bill manages to confess that he's afraid of roller coasters for some reason. What is it with big guys being afraid of roller coasters? Happens a lot, I don't know, but in any case, Bill doesn't want to go on any roller coasters at grad night. And I'm like, I'm a roller coaster guy at this point. You gotta go on the coasters. So as we're walking around doing things, and I don't remember a whole lot of what we did. Some of the concerts and stuff we skipped because we weren't interested. But as we're looking at rides, I want to go on Big Thunder. Well, of course, Big Thunder's a roller coaster, and Bill doesn't do roller coasters. My other friend that's with us, Richard, doesn't really know what it is, neither does Bill, because he'd never been there. And was like, well, come on, guys, we gotta go on this.
I'm not going on anything that's scary.
It's somehow, in the course of this conversation, I managed to convince Bill that Big Thunder Mountain wasn't a roller coaster, it was just a little train ride. Which, it is a little train ride that goes kind of fast. And managed to convince Bill to go on this roller coaster. And then, not only did I convince him to go on it, somehow I worked this out, and I don't remember this, where Bill and Richard rode together in a car or two behind me. Not even in the row behind me, but they were well back a little bit. And I was further up on my own. And all I can remember about the ride is at one point not just enjoying it, but looking back during the ride and seeing Bill holding on with a death grip on the rail, looking like he's going to kill me. You could just see the daggers coming out of his eyes. Personally, I think it was his anger at me that probably got him through the ride more, but Richard later told me that the whole ride, Bill was going,
I'm gonna kill him, he's dead. I'm gonna kill him, he's dead.
We get back to the station and off the ride. I step off, look back, and all I can see is Bill letting go of his death grip, and just, you could see it in his eyes. I'm gonna kill him. And laughing, and then turning around and running for my life so he couldn't kill me. He did actually eventually catch me, and if I remember right, I got a headlock and a pretty good-sized noogie from it. But Bill was not a happy camper with me for a little while. He didn't trust me when I said Space Mountain wasn't a roller coaster and other things later. Had to find out on his own. I don't understand why. Just so you know, Bill and I remain friends even today, and we laugh about that now. But yes, it was definitely a fun time at Big Thunder that night. And yeah, the issues were ones that I created, but I can't really say I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry. My other big memory, though, of roller coaster issues at Disneyland wasn't my fault. I was about 7, 8 years old. It was our very first trip to Disneyland. We had waited for my sister to get old enough to enjoy it, and so 1977, 78, right in there, I believe. I think it was 78. We had gone to Disneyland the very first time, and my memories of this trip as a kid are kind of scattered a little bit. I remember running from ride to ride because that's what my dad did, and we just followed along. I remember wanting to go on Dumbo And my dad not wanting to do Dumbo because you can do the elephant thing anywhere. Dumbo was one of the very few, like 2 or 3 rides that we didn't do in all of Disneyland. I wanted to ride Dumbo and my dad didn't let me ride Dumbo. So I remember that. I remember the electric light parade and absolutely loving it, and the fact that my dad somehow got a couple good pictures that he's still got and I can't get copies of. A couple other scattered things. I remember seeing the daytime parade, but I don't actually remember the parade itself. I remember the Golden Horseshoe Review and loving the show, and as a little kid, one of the girls as she walked by tapped me on the head and going, "Oh, she touched me!" You know, kid stuff. But probably the biggest standout memory at the time was when we went and rode Matterhorn. Now, if you don't know, the Matterhorn was actually the very first tubular steel roller coaster ever built. It's a great ride. And what I remember is we had gone up, and at the time, Disneyland was actually still doing the ride tickets. And if I remember right, the Matterhorn was a C or a D ticket. It wasn't E-ticket at the time. It was a C or a D. And that does play a role. We got on, went up the lift hill, started the ride, and as we had started going down the mountain, it had started picking up speed. We came around one turn out of the mountain, and as we came out of the mountain at kind of this weird angle, we stopped. Just screech! Like, why are we stopped? We're stopped on the side at this angle kind of like this. Yeah, just tilted the whole way. And we're on the outside looking, and the monorail beam actually goes past us just a little bit. So as we're sitting there at this slightly uncomfortable angle, we can actually watch the monorails go by. And we sat. And we sat. And, you know, for a kid, it feels like eternity. But it was probably about 5 to 10 minutes, and finally a cast member comes up. There's no speakers on the ride, so they can't talk to us. So a cast member comes walking by, has a baseball cap in their hand, and so my, little kid mind, we stopped for a baseball cap. Now I realize that we probably stopped because something tripped the sensors, and so they had to stop the ride. And as they were walking around to let everybody know that it's okay, they're going to restart the ride again, this cast member probably found the baseball cap and picked it up along the way. But just said, hey, hold tight, we're going to get you going again, don't worry. In the meantime, as we're sitting there at this angle, watching the monorails go by, and we're waving at every monorail, hi! Because what else are you going to do? So about every 60 to 90 seconds, hi! The monorail, and watching the people wave back at us. In the meantime, again, that was actually probably what kept my little kid fears from really kind of blowing up as to why we're stopped here and what's going on. I don't remember my parents being worried about it. I don't remember my younger sister being worried. We just thought, well, this is different, kind of cool. Finally, it was 20 minutes later, I believe, is what my parents said. Again, felt like forever for me. Finally, after 20 minutes that felt like an eternity to me, the brake pads that are holding us in place drop, and we slowly start off down the mountain again. We don't get anywhere near full speed like you usually would. We pick up a little bit, but we make our way all the way down. We go over the last little bump into the water and back into the station. The cast members look at us and say, okay, we know you were stuck for a while. You can have your ride ticket back, or you can ride again. I wanted to ride again. I mean, come on. We didn't even get a real ride. But my dad said, nope, let's take the ride ticket. We're going to go use it for something else instead. But Dad, we didn't get to really ride. Too bad. Off we go. It was one of those, it's one of the very few mechanical breakdowns I've had. I've only been evac'd on rides a couple times. Splash Mountain at Walt Disney World was one of them. But never at Disneyland. And so it stands out as one of the very few times where I really got stopped on a ride. Thought, okay, are we going to have to get out and walk back down? Are we going to be stuck here? What's going on? And especially at such a young age, in my very first time to Disneyland, it very easily could have turned into a very scary moment. But my parents were awesome, and it turned into a fun memory. A completely unusual memory, but we still joke about sitting on the side of the mountain sideways, waving at the monorail. And it's turned into a fun memory and a great conversation starter. We get together and, hey, you remember that time we were stuck waving at monorails? So, hey, that's the way to approach a breakdown. Let's turn it into something fun. So if you had an interesting, unusual, or scary experience like that at a park, I'd love to hear it. Share it in the comments below. I love to hear stuff like that because I don't get them that often. Thank you in a huge way to my patrons and my YouTube members for their financial support. There's benefits that come with that. If you want to know more, check the description below too. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderfully blessed day. I've had a lot of amazing trips. Not a lot. It was definitely a fun time on Big Mountain. Big Mountain. But we finally... Come on in.
Sorry, I was trying to be quiet.
Nope, you're fine. It'll make noise, so I'm almost done.